Mine is titled Writing, #Writing Class, #Epic. The goal for my project was to increase student interest and engagement in the writing process and publishing. I have 6th graders. They are not interested in writing. You say it's time to write, you get the groans. And I thought, how can I get them interested and engaged in this? And when it has a writing assignment and I say we're publishing this, my kids, they come to the class with their paper and pencil. They bring their homework because they know if they don't have it, they don't get to do the fun part, as they call it. I also use this as an outlet for my students to show their writing in other content areas. All right, storyboard that. My students were working on claim and evidence presentation. Each of my kids read a biography from the Who Was or Who Is series, and then they had to persuade me in 5 slides to put this person on a postage stamp. And I noticed it won't play from here, so I brought my laptop with me. So they can go in and create their own picture and then put in their information. They have 5 slides to do this in. But the cool thing about Storyboard that is you can use it in multiple ways. I could print my kids 5 blocks for them afterwards, which is what we did, and we made a wall of fame for parents to come through and see each kid's 5 blocks. Or I could use it as a presentation like I did and download automatically to PowerPoint to where they could stand up in front of their classmates and show it off. I also used it as a visual vocabulary lesson. I would make a web on the story and my kids would pull in the pictures. They would create the pictures themselves that represented that vocabulary word. One of my 7th graders, because they were jealous that just my 6th graders were using this, they asked me, please open us accounts, which I had some left, so I went ahead and made them some and decided we'd use it. But they said that they really liked being able to create their own picture in the technology way instead of drawing, because they're not artists and they don't like to look at their drawings. So they really enjoy being able to click and drag pictures to put it together. I also did one with character evolution during the plot, and this was over the story The Tale, which is about a girl who loses her brother in the park and how she's changed. In the beginning of the story, she was stubborn. She didn't want to do what Mom asked her to do. She was annoyed with her brother. Then once she realized he was missing, she was fearful. So they had to identify the character traits and then give me evidence from the passage that exemplified those traits. And then we looked at how the character changed, what caused the character to change, what outside forces. And then afterwards, I had an extended response for them to do after they've created theirs. And when I did it, I had a majority of my students scored proficient. You know, they were able to identify the change in the main character and use the knowledge from that development and the graphic organizer to create a higher scoring extended response. Like I said, I let them use it in other classes, and some of my 8th graders took it and used it for their social studies class, and they created small little comic strips that went over social studies content. This had to be one of my kids' favorite, the Go Animate. Basically, I used it as a reading response. We had read the story of Jackie Robinson, and one of the essay questions that goes with the story is describe the conversation between Branch Rickey, who was the coach of the Brooklyn Dodgers, and Jackie Robinson, and use information from your text and their discussion in it. So the kids had to get creative. And they went in and actually
You asked me to accompany you in your office, Mr. Ricky. Yes, I would like to discuss making you a part of the Brooklyn Dodgers. I am sorry, sir, but you must be colorblind. My eyes are perfectly fine, young man. I would like your help to be the first to integrate a major league team. It would be a dream come true, but won't I be tormented by white fans and players? Sure you will, but I think that you are just the man to take on the hate. With all due respect, you think that I am just a pansy that will sit back and let them take swings at me? I am sorry, but I am not. Of course not, but you must show them that blacks are worthy of playing in the major leagues. Okay, I will do it. When can I start playing? Do not get ahead of yourself, son. You will have to be in the minors for a little while. You can start in the minor leagues soon. That sounds good enough for me.
Okay, so that allowed them to be creative while using the story for the reader response. I used it to increase interest in the lesson. When we were talking about plot, there was a little rap online, and you know, I wasn't going to rap for my kids. I could have, but I didn't. So I turned it into a conversation between two characters. Ooh, where'd it go?
We are learning about plot. In the story, each event has a spot. The spot that it's placed helps the story to flow. So sit back, relax, and here we go.
But the kids like to watch that instead of me all the time. And I always get, will you play it again? And I post it to my Google Classroom so they have it at home. Sorry. I also let our 6th and 7th grade science teacher use it in her classroom. We were doing the Arbor Day stuff, and she was doing Earth Day, and she's like, what can I produce for you? What type of writing can I do? And I said, well, listen, I've got some really cool things for them to use. I'll give you all of their passwords, and they can get on it in your room. She also has Chromebooks. And so they created videos talking about the different Earth Day. And each kid, you know, they got to select their own characters and do it how they wanted to. And of course, it goes back.
Excuse me, Sachi? I have a question.
Yes, Akai?
I read a flyer about Earth Day and it mentioned a carbon footprint. What's that?
The old definition.
So this student chose to talk about what is carbon footprint, and they taught their classmates based on the different vocabulary that they've learned. They taught them using the videos, and then each student evaluated the other person's presentation. And the last thing I had was I purchased 3 Osmos. If you haven't seen them, they are super cool. You can attach it to your iPads, and it is a mirror on top. You can use it as a drawing tool. Many of our students, they're not artists, and they know that, and they're afraid to draw things, even diagrams. They don't want to draw because they don't want other people to see it. Well, with the Osmo, you place it on a student desk, put the laptop on it, and it will bring up the picture in front of you, and then on the paper below it, it will follow your hand, and you will follow the lines. It's a multi-step tracing, basically, but it engages the mind and the hand and the drawing tool. And now my students are like, hey, can I use that, please, to make my poster for such and such class? And they'll sit down and they'll work through break and they'll draw their graphics. So that way they're not standing up in front of their peers feeling a little embarrassed. I also let the 3rd grade use it when they were talking about shapes and they were doing tangrams. It has a tangrams that come with it where it puts you put the pieces in front of it And once they match up, it lights up for them. And then the kids can move through different levels. Also for younger ones, it's got the words. You have the the letter tiles, and they can put it together to spell the words. It lights up, and it's fun. But I liked it for the presentation style with the drawings. But that is what I had.